Hey, what's up? It's Derek Depker, founder of ebookbestsellersecrets.com and multiple #1 best-selling author. In this video, you're going to discover how to overcome the fear of sharing your story and your message with the world. This is how to get over that mind chatter that comes up when you think about exposing yourself. I don't mean in that way, but like exposing the essence of who you are through your work and through your creation. And ultimately, it comes down to this battle that we're all fighting in our lives, and especially as creators, between two different things. The battle is between our mast self and our forreal self. So our mast self is what we present to the world in our day-to-day life, but also in our writing, it's like, I gotta write what I think people wanna hear. I don't wanna expose too much of my own style or my own personality or my own stories or my own history, because then people might not like it. And if they don't like it, then that's like a personal attack on me. If I show my true self, that's vulnerable. That's exposing myself up to attacks and criticism about my very essence, about my very core. Now this happens in writing because you're putting your words on paper and people could criticize it, what you stand for, or they could think like, oh my God, I can't believe this author, what they went through. Or even if it's a creative work, like as a musician, if I write a song, that's like my baby. Right? And if people think my song is stupid, then first of all, they're idiots. But secondly, that's like a personal attack on me on some level. So do you feel that sense of like, kind of apprehension and tension about putting yourself out there? Well, that's because it means you're going to be exposing your forreal self. Okay, so why is it important though to actually do this? Why can't we just present a masked self? Well, as you might already get a sense of this, people don't connect with fake. No one sits around and goes, wow, I really love politicians because they try to please everyone and you don't really know what they stand for. Like, I just admire that. I really love politicians. Said no one ever. Okay, but do we admire sometimes rock stars or people who just, they show up, it's like, this is the way I am, it's my life, I do what I want, whatever, right? They embrace who they are, take it or leave it. And it's that ability to connect with a forreal person that will allow you to connect with certain people who will resonate with you, but at the same time, it means repelling people who don't like you. And it's that push-pull dynamic. If you want people to really love you or really love your work and your message, then by that very nature of having people drawn to it and attracted to it, you're pushing other people away. And if you're a people pleaser and you want to please everyone, that's scary. So how do you actually overcome that fear of rejection or criticism? 5 things that you need to understand. The first thing is you have to appreciate that this is a battle that we all go through. It's natural and normal as a human being to want a person's approval. If you sit there and you tell yourself, well, I shouldn't care what people think, it shouldn't really matter to me, then that's nonsense. Of course you're going to care what people think. You're hardwired in your biology as part of your human needs to want people's approval. So be okay with that. So the message is, I'm not okay, and that's okay. It's not, oh, I'm feeling fear and apprehension and there's something wrong with me. It's, no, I'm feeling fear. I'm going to be vulnerable. This is a little scary, and you know what? That's okay, and that's normal. And that just means I'm human. That's the first thing. Be okay with the fact that you feel fear, because otherwise what will happen is your mind chatter will come in and it'll try to give you excuses. Well, no, the reason that you're not writing this book or you're not putting yourself out there is because, well, you don't know what step number 73 in the process is, or you don't really know how you're going to market the book, or you don't know how you're going to do the cover design or this or that, and it'll give you logical excuses to take yourself out when at the heart of it, you're just scared. Okay? That's not always the case, but many times you're just scared. And if you can acknowledge your fear, you can acknowledge, I'm just freaked out right now about this. That's the first step in actually being able to let it go. The second thing, what matters more? This is the choice that you have to make. Because there's people, as you probably already know, some people are going to hate you, some people are going to love you, and some people are going to hate the real you, and some people are going to love the real you, or your work that's real and genuine. Okay? So you already know you can't get away from having haters in this world. It's going to happen. So the question is, are you more focused on pleasing the few people that are your critics or that are your haters, or the people who need your message, the people who you're going to have an impact on? See, that's the battle I fought. As I had a decision to make, I go, I fight it even to this day when I go, well, if I put it this way, then some people might not like it and I need to explain it this way and justify it like this. And I stop and I go, you know what, Derek? I'm trying to please the wrong people and I'm never going to please them. Why don't I just focus on the people who do get it? And this is an idea I got from Tim Ferriss. He talks about worrying about the 1,000 true fans who are going to love you and love your work and love your personality and your style. Think about them, not the 10 million people who don't get it and never will. Okay? So what matters more to you? Do I want to have my power? Do I want to give my power away to these other people, or do I want to keep it for myself? I have to make that decision, because think about this. If you're worried about, oh my gosh, what matters if these people don't like it, and so you don't write your book or you don't put it out there in a meaningful way, then that's causing all those people who need your work to suffer needlessly. See, if I held back, if I shrunk down out of fear, then I'm basically screwing over all the people who need the message that I have. I'm saying my comfort in this short term matters more than all the people who need me to show up and deliver my story and my message to the world. I'm making my short term comfort matter more than all those people who love me and appreciate me. And I know some people are going to be like, that's great, Derek, but it's not about the haters out there, the strangers that I'm worried about. It's my own close family and friends that I'm worried about. It's the people closest to me that I'm worried about. They're my biggest critics. And I say, well, I can appreciate the fact that you don't want to offend the people that are closest to you. But who is the person that is the closest to you? Who's the person you have the most intimate relationship with? Who's the person you have the longest lasting relationship with, if not yourself? So are you compromising your own values and your own integrity for these other people that they might be close to you, but they're not closer to you than you are to yourself? So do you love yourself enough to show up in the world being your true, genuine, for realsies self? That's the decision you need to make. Third, stretch. Don't break your comfort zone. So you might be taking some leaps of faith. You might be doing some things that challenge you by your writing and by putting your message out there, but you don't have to go to the extreme all the time. You can do it in gradual steps of drip feeding and opening up a little more, a little more, a little more each day. And as you take these steps in the right direction and stretch yourself, eventually what you're comfortable with grows. So you don't have to freak yourself out and put so much pressure on yourself that you shut down. Instead, it's what's just a little bit of a stretch for myself today? What's a little bit of a challenge that I'm a little apprehensive about, little shaky, but I'm not gonna have to go change my underwear after I do it. Like, I can handle it. So think about that sort of stuff and then act faster than your mind can take you out. See, if you give yourself time to think about, should I do this? Should I not do this? So for instance, I'm writing a book. When I was writing my last book, there'd be things I write in there and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I really want to share this with people. So what I would do is before I could even think about it or decide to edit it out or anything like that, I highlight it, copy it, and post it on Facebook. Just like, just gonna do it, copy, paste, done, right? Because it only takes about 11 seconds for your mind to come up with 73 reasons not to do something. Okay, so if you act quicker than your mind can take you out and you just, whatever, I'm not even gonna think about it, I'm just gonna go for it and just do it and do this thing that's stretching me, then you get it done and you're like, oh, that wasn't such a big deal. It only becomes a big deal if you let your mind, which is like a spider, weave this web that entangles you and that you can't escape from. Act fast, and that's how you get over a lot of this mind chatter and mind frick. Fourth, see criticism as equaling feedback. Now maybe this is easier said than done. I get it. Look, criticism is going to sting. It's always going to sting. I acknowledge that. However, start to reframe it and call it feedback. Someone doesn't like what you did, it's feedback. Your own inner critic is just offering feedback. When my mind tells me, Derek, this sucks, this is terrible, you're just worthless, no one's going to want this, it's just like, okay, that's some feedback. Thank you, mind. I appreciate that. If someone else says it, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the feedback. And when it becomes neutral, then I can take it or leave it, because sometimes the criticism is valid. Look, there's going to be negative feedback. Sometimes people who hate on your work, they're not just being haters, they actually point out some legitimate flaws or areas of improvement with what you've done or the way you're sharing your message or what you put out there. That's fine. So if you just see it as feedback, then you can weigh it and go, do I want to take this and do something with it, or do something with it later, or just let it go for now? Finally, celebrate your success. Here's a common scenario that I see. I've done it to myself, so don't worry if you're guilty. And that is this. I'm going to beat myself up over every little failure, over every little criticism. I'm going to be like, it's the end of the world. I can't believe I did that. And then I'm going to have some major accomplishment, like I finally write a book and I've overcome so many hurdles to finally get this book done. The times where I could have distracted myself with Facebook, but I sat down and I wrote and I got it out there and it was scary and I did it anyway. And then it's like finally hit this milestone. Then it's like, oh yeah, but whatever. I mean, it's just a book. I mean, some people have like 5 books. It's not even selling that well. I mean, it's not, whatever. You know, it's like, are you kidding me? You just accomplished you just overcame all these fears. You overcame all this resistance. Then when you finally hit the milestone, it's like, whatever, it's still not good enough. Okay, so no wonder you're going to be freaked out because you're overemphasizing failure and underemphasizing success. So here's what I've had to train myself to do. It's not just about the milestones like writing a book or having a bestseller. It's the daily wins. It's when I go, I really feel like getting on Facebook for the 73rd time, but instead I'm going to stop, I'm going to discipline myself, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write for 10 minutes. That little stretch, that little challenge that I give myself that I'm successful with, I got to celebrate. I take it in, I go, I did it. I overcame my fear. Yes! Doing it! And you make the gunshot noises to really kick it up in there, and the fist pumped and everything to celebrate and own it, especially if you do something that's vulnerable, especially if you put something out there on a post or on a blog post or in your writing or in your book, and you put it out there and you're like, I can't believe I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways, and you step in and you act in spite of fear. Own it. Own that victory. Embrace that feeling of success. Every time you overcome your fear, embrace it, soak it in, acknowledge yourself for it. Because not everyone else is going to acknowledge you for it. Trust me, you might not get anyone else who recognizes the inner battles that you face, but you have to do it. Every single day, all the outer victories that you have first, there are a lot of inner victories that you won against your mind, against your fears, and you have to be the one to celebrate your own successes when you do that. And what that does is that starts to balance it out, right? It starts to go, you know what, failure kind of sucks or whatever, but you know what, I'm doing a lot of things well. But there's a second part here. And I say, let it go. Celebrate your successes. Take pride in your accomplishments. And every time you overcame your fear, every time you were disciplined, every time you overcame resistance, celebrate that, but then let it go. Because what can happen is that it can lead to pride. It can lead to complacency. It can lead to getting a big ego and being like, well, you know, I wrote a book and I'm kind of a big deal now and I don't have to do anything more because I got this book done and I'm pretty amazing now. It can lead to that eventually if you don't let it go. So you'll notice that there's a theme here between point 4 and 5 about the feedback, about how to improve, and then celebrating the things that you do well, acting in spite of fear, for instance, or being willing to be vulnerable. You cycle back and forth. I'm going to celebrate my success, but then I'm going to let it go and focus on how I can do better. But instead of just focusing on how I can do better and beating myself up because nothing's ever good enough, I also learned to let that go and take pride in my successes. And then I let that go and I look for ways to improve. And it's like it's a dynamic, it's a balance, it's a fluid thing. It's not all just looking at what's sunshine and rainbows and wonderful, but it's not all just looking at what sucks and how things aren't good enough either. You're going back and forth and you're maintaining an element of both. Here's what I'm doing well, here's what I can do better, and I'm working with both of those things at the same time. I'm great, and now I can be even more great, so to speak. One last point, to surround yourself with people who celebrate success for you, people who remind you of your own greatness, people who see a bigger potential in you than you see in yourself. So find the people who are going to celebrate your success when you forget to celebrate it yourself. This is Derek Depker. You can get more tips at ebookbestsellersecrets.com. Sign up for the newsletter. When you do, shoot me an email, reply to that first email that you get and tell me what is the mind chatter that goes on with you whenever you think about writing and you feel apprehensive. And I'll send you a free copy of my book, Why Authors Fail. This is Derek. Take care.